In the distant future, humanity made contact with an alien race. It was a moment of great excitement and anticipation for the people of Earth. But the excitement soon turned to horror when the aliens unleashed their bioweapon upon the world. It spread like wildfire, wiping out entire cities within days. The survivors were few and far between. Those who had managed to escape the initial attack were left to face a world that was now alien to them. They were stranded on a planet that no longer belonged to them, and they were at the mercy of an unknown force. Those who had managed to find their way underground, into the labyrinth of tunnels and bunkers that had once served as government facilities, now called this their home. The tunnels were cramped, and the air was always stale. There was no sunlight, no fresh air, and no hope of ever leaving this underground world. But they had to make do with what they had. Among them was a boy named Timmy. He had been born underground and had never known the world above. He spent his days scavenging for food and water, always on the lookout for dangerous mutants that roamed the tunnels. Life was hard for Timmy and the other survivors. They had to fight every day to survive, but they were determined to make a life for themselves, even if it meant living in the darkness forever. Every day, Timmy would venture out into the tunnels with his scavenging team. They would comb through the abandoned rooms, looking for anything that might be useful: food, water, medicine, or weapons. It was during one of these scavenging trips that Timmy saw something that would change his life forever. They had stumbled upon a room that had been sealed shut, and the team had to use all their strength to pry it open. Inside, they found a strange object that looked like a glowing crystal. Timmy was fascinated by the crystal. It was beautiful and seemed to emit a soft, warm light. He knew that it was dangerous to touch anything that they didn't understand, but he couldn't help himself. He reached out and touched the crystal, and suddenly, everything changed. He was transported to a different world, a world that was green and lush and full of life. There was sunlight and fresh air, and people who lived in beautiful homes and wore clothes made of silk. Timmy was overwhelmed by the beauty of this world, and he wanted to stay there forever. But then he heard a voice that called out to him from the darkness. It was the voice of his mother, telling him that he had to come back. He tried to resist, but the pull of the crystal was too strong. He felt himself being dragged back into the darkness. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the underground tunnels, surrounded by his scavenging team. They were all looking at him with fear and awe, and Timmy realized that he had been gone for a long time. He looked down at his hands and saw that they were glowing, just like the crystal. From that day on, Timmy was no longer just another scavenger. He had become something else, something more. He could sense things that others couldn't, and he could see things that others couldn't see. He knew that he had a purpose, a destiny that he had to fulfill. And so, Timmy set out on a journey to find the source of the crystal, to find the answer to the mystery that had been haunting him since he was a child. He knew that it would be a long and difficult journey, full of dangers and unknowns, but he was ready. He was ready to face whatever lay ahead, to fight for the people who had become his family, to discover the secrets of the world above, and to bring hope to the darkness that had consumed them all. As he walked towards the entrance of the tunnel, Timmy looked back at the people who had given him everything. He knew that he might never see them again, but he hoped that they would remember him, that they would remember the boy who had gone out to bring light to their world.